We were promised goals, weren't we, between Borussia Dortmund and PSG, but for a while, there were none. In fact, up to the 69th minute, but then the game just exploded into life. Haaland, on his Champions League debut for Borussia Dortmund, would make it 1-0. PSG quickly equalised. Nice assist from Mbappe would find Neymar, but then Erling Haaland would score the winner. And this kid is just on fire at the moment. When I say the winner, it was just a rocket from outside the box to give Borussia Dortmund a 2-1 lead going into the second leg. That is 11 goals in 7 games since joining Dortmund over the summer. It seems the place to start, isn't it?
Yep.
When you've got the likes of Mbappe and Neymar on the pitch, yeah, it's Haaland who everyone's talking about.
He's the draw. We said it yesterday, whenever the Dortmund team comes out, whether they're playing in the Bundesliga or the Champions League, the first thing almost everybody asks now is Haaland playing, right? And here's a guy, a teenager, who is doing it at the elite level. He's doing it for his previous club. He's doing it for this club. By the way, a huge club in Germany, which is under pressure to perform in the knockout stages against one of the biggest spenders in European football in the last decade. And he just doesn't seem fazed. I mean, there are little parts of his game that he knows himself when he said it, I need to work on. Sometimes his first touch, or he just needs to slow down a little bit. But in general, for somebody of his age, he has just been immense.
The first goal, when it went in and he scored it, we were like, everything is just falling for him at the moment because the ball kind of spun around, fell into his path and he scores. That second one was world class.
Yeah, no, he had a lot to do. He had a defender in front of him. And the pace that he hit the ball with very little backlift. You know, the ball was past the goalkeeper before he moved because you're watching it and you're thinking he's going to have to go a little further to get a hit on this. And as you're thinking that, the ball's in the back of the net. That's a talent. That's God-given. And this guy has got talent. And the other thing I love, and there was 2 things that happened. The way this guy plays, he plays like a 19-year-old. He plays like a guy who just wants to go out and score goals. He's smiling all over the shop.
And he's running around everywhere.
And he's running around. And then I'm looking at Mbappe. We know what Neymar's all about. I'm looking at Mbappe, and Mbappe started to do what Neymar started doing all these little flicks and tricks and round the legs and try to do it. And he's like, hold on a second, that's not what made you great. What made you great is what this guy Haaland's doing right now. So I hope Haaland just sticks to what he does now, enjoys his game, and just sticks the ball in the back of the net.
Do you know what? Normally, from a defender's point of view, you're playing against a player and you think, right, this striker, he's a penalty box striker, but he isn't going to pick the ball up 30, 40 yards and crash one, so I don't have to worry too much about that. Or he's that kind of player and I need to be closing him down, but he's not very sharp in the box. This boy, this boy does both sides of the game, plus the fact that normally you're playing against a player who's maybe quick, or you're playing against a player who's maybe not as mobile, but is physical. He's got it all. I mean, he's got the physicality of the old-fashioned number 9, but he's got the speed of a striker who plays off the big guy. And we saw that in the one that he went through on goal in the second half. His touch just got a little bit away from him, and it looked, for all the will in the world, that the goalkeeper was going to get there at least a yard or 2 in front of him. And he still managed to get there and get his left toe in and almost tempt the goalkeeper into giving a penalty kick away. An immense performance from a young man who is, by the way, only going to get better.
How strong is this guy going to be? And when I say that, you might not remember, Dan, there used to be a guy called Nicol, and he came on the scene as a 19-year-old, and he was a big, skinny, gangly guy. And when you hit him, you know, you could feel his bones.
Right.
I'll tell you what, about 12 months, 18 months later, I remember hitting him. I'll tell you what, I nearly broke my foot. This is what's going to happen to Haaland. He's only going to get quicker, stronger, and faster. I mean, it's scary to think how big and strong this guy will be.
Gab, this is why we love it, and this is why we love watching this sport, because when you see someone like this come from not nowhere, but have so much expectation around him, and then he lives up to it, it's what it's all about.
I mean, you corrected yourself there when you said nowhere. With all due respect, if you go back 12 months, Haaland was 18 years old, but, you know, there were other 18-year-olds that we were talking about. He was not one of them. You know, he just arrived at Salzburg, was coming off the bench, picking his spots. There's no question that, look, all the big clubs have known who he is for a very long time, and he's been plugged into all the networks. But it did seem that he'd somehow slightly gone off the radar, and certainly the general public didn't know who he was. And now they know. The beast is risen. It's absolutely terrifying what he does. And I think the one thing, and I'm sure Borussia Dortmund sports science people and Haaland himself and his dad will all be looking at this, is going to be his physical development as he continues. What kind of a player is he going to be? I mean, you want him to get stronger, but you want him to maintain his pace. You know, sometimes it can be a bit of a zero-sum game. How do you manage that when you've got such a phenomenal athlete above all else?
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.